Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I'm making some brownies.
So this brownie recipe is my recipe, but it's adapted. It's sort of a combination between two of my favorite recipes. One of them is Stella Parks' recipe from Serious Eats. She has a glossy brownie recipe, and it's actually the recipe that we serve at my restaurant, Worst Hall in San Mateo. It's on the menu as Stella's Brownies. It's sort of a combination between that recipe and my friend Deb Perlman's favorite brownie recipe. You can find that on her site, Smitten Kitchen. So I'm going to start with a 8x8 inch pan here. Spray with a little nonstick spray. And you saw I cut this piece of parchment paper so that it fits the width of the pan. Okay, and it's okay if it hangs over the edges. Actually, it's good if it hangs over the edges. So some nonstick spray in there are ready to start. And then the silicone coated parchment paper on top. That's, you know, any parchment paper is going to be silicone coated. And that nonstick spray in there is going to help the parchment stick. And then also obviously make it easy to get out at the end. So we're going to treat this kind of like a sling that we're going to use to lift the brownies out at the end. All right. Then we're also going to spray the inside of the parchment so the brownies themselves don't stick later on. All right. So next we're going to take our eggs, 3 eggs into the bowl of a stand mixer. You can also, of course, do this by hand, or if you have a hand mixer, you can do that as well. But 3 eggs. So this is one of the steps that Stella talks about in her recipe as being sort of the key step for getting your brownies going from sort of a matte top to a really glossy, shiny top. Is the important part is that you beat the eggs and that the sugar that we're going to add now really incorporates, melts into it, so that you don't end up with sort of dry grains of sugar. All right, so at this point, I'm going to add my sugar. So we're doing 1.5 cups, which is the equivalent of about 300 grams. I always like to go by weight because it's much easier. You just get a scale, tare it each time, add your ingredients. This is white sugar. It's important to use white sugar also if you want that sort of glossy, crackling top. Brown sugar draws moisture from the air, which can cause the top to soften and turn sort of matte. All right, so about 300 grams of sugar. Yes, Chen. Big pinch of salt. It's about the equivalent of half a teaspoon or so, more or less. We're going to do a couple of teaspoons of vanilla, as my friend Deb Perlman says, vanilla you always measure with your heart. Now we're gonna beat this until the eggs and sugar form smooth, glossy ribbons. So kind of medium speed with the paddle here. This is 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate that I'm adding. If all you can get is bittersweet chocolate, you know, something that is maybe, say, 72 to 75%, all you have to do is take an ounce of sugar out of the egg mixture. So an ounce of sugar. Take about 30 grams of it out. I'm going to put it in a bowl here. And I've also got 2 sticks of butter. So that's 8 ounces of butter. 225 grams or so. That might seem like a lot of butter, and that's because it is. It's part of what makes brownies taste good. And then we're going to add that right in with the chocolate here. All right, so I got some water simmering over here. I'm going to place the butter and the chocolate on top. I'm just going to stir this together until the chocolate and the butter melts together. Sorry, Chen, but you're not going to get a taste of this one. It's chocolate. You can get a different treat later on, though. All right, we just want to kind of a bare simmer here. We don't want to overheat the chocolate or it might seize up. And then we just want to keep stirring this constantly as it goes until the butter is almost all melted. Butter and chocolate are almost all melted. And then at that point we can take it off heat and just let it finish on its own over here. All right, so our egg mixture now is looking pretty nice and ribbony. Can you see that texture there? Should be forming nice ribbons like that. Okay. And at this stage, I'm going to pour my chocolate into it. I misplaced my silicone spatula, so I'm just using a wooden spoon here. If I had a spatula, like a scraper spatula, I would be using it right now. So if you've got one, go ahead and use it. Okay. So we're gonna let that chocolate combine. And then our final two ingredients, 100 grams of flour, which is about the equivalent of 3/4 of a cup of flour. 50 grams of cocoa powder, which is about half a cup. We're gonna add that to our bowl here as well. And then we're gonna beat this just until it's combined. And that's about it. Just scrape it out to make sure there's no more sort of dry pockets of stuff remaining at the bottom of the bowl. I think we're good. Now this goes into the prepared pan. So one of the things that, you know, is real different about this brownie recipe, and it's the trick that I got from Stella, versus other brownie recipes, is that you beat those eggs like that. And so you see the brownie batter actually, this brownie batter is a little bit more similar to, say, a cake batter, you know, like a chocolate cake batter, although it is unleavened. So brownies don't have any baking soda or baking powder added to them. So that's why, you know, brownies have a sort of denser, fudgier texture. However, because we beat the eggs, there is quite a bit of air incorporated into this batter compared to a normal brownie batter. And what that means is that as it bakes, you're going to see it's going to puff up a little more than a normal brownie does. But that's okay. It's going to puff up and it's going to look a little cakey as it bakes, but then what happens is as it rests, it sort of deflates and it becomes real dense and fudgy again. Okay. So there we go. So now this is going to go into a preheated 325 degree oven. And we're going to bake it until until a knife or a toothpick comes out clean. So it's going to be about 30 minutes, all right? So I will see you in 30 minutes. All right. So I'm going to check these now. So you can see they kind of puff up the way a cake does because of the whipped whites. I already checked it twice, so I do know that this is going to be done at this point. So it comes out clean, means we're good to go. If you stick a thermometer in there, it should be around 200, 205 degrees or so. All right, and then we're just gonna let these sit here and cool. So these brownies, just like Stella's, fresh out of the oven, they're gonna be kind of puffy like this and almost cake-like, and you can see it, they're kind of puffy and cake-like. But as they sit, you're gonna see it's going to collapse, and then they're gonna get like a sort of fudgier, deeper, denser texture. So these brownies, you do wanna let them cool before you eat them. So we're gonna let them cool for about half an hour at least. You can also just let them sit until the next day and they're gonna be totally fine. So I will see you again in about an hour. So at this point, you can see it's collapsed a bit, so we can take this out. And I'm going to cut into it. So I made these actually because my daughter has a violin recital tomorrow, and parents are supposed to bring treats. So I'm bringing brownies. So you can see when I cut into it, you can see that top crack. The Kraken. I'm gonna cut it into a brownie this rich, like I like to do kind of 2-biter pieces here. No, Chen, you can't have any. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, but. And let me pull out a piece and show you the. Oh boy! All right, so you can see the sort of fudginess, the fudge factor. And you can see that real nice, glossy, shiny top. Oh, Chen. Now that is a brownie. All right. Brownies, real easy to make. This is a hybrid of Stella Parks' recipe and Deb Perlman's recipe. I'll write my own recipe down for this and leave a link to it. I'll also leave a link to Stella's recipe and Deb's recipe so that you can make those versions if you'd like as well. Stella's is out of her book that came out, 10 years ago. It's called Brave Tart. Excellent book. One of my favorites. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, four-legged friends. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can find the full article and recipe along with bonus content and my newsletter for free on my Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos like this, or my alternate channel, Kenji Lopez Main, for my dining content. And follow me on Instagram at Kenji Lopez-Alt for daily updates. You can also get signed and personalized copies of any of my books. That's The Food Lab, The Walk, or my children's book, Every Night is Pizza Night, shipped from Book Larder here in Seattle. Find the links to all of this, as well as all of the tools I used in today's video, in the description below. Thanks.